Hello there. In this video I'm going to show you how you can create a charm for a bracelet. We're going to use the solid object in this video, and I'm going to show you how you can actually add some patterns to the outside of the charm, some text to the outside of the charm, and how you can also put some holes in it. I'm going to be using the Harrington font, so I'm going to add one of the characters from here to the charm, and I'm also going to add a pattern to the charm, and I'm going to use an astrological pattern, and let's see, which one should we add? We could add the zodiac pattern, so we're going to add that to the charm. So if I just go back to File and New, go to the Charms folder, I'm going to use this hexagonal charm, but there are other options. There's this octagonal one, a circular one, and a square charm. So the procedure is pretty much the same for all of them. So if we just drag and drop that object onto the workspace, you can see what it is that we've got. And this is the size of it, so it's 12 millimeters approximately by 12 millimeters by 10. I think if we just view it from the top, if we just measure this, it should be about 4.5, just over 4.5 millimeters gap there. So that's the bracelet it's going to go on, and as you can see, it's already got some thickness of about 1 millimeter. So what we're going to do, well, we're going to put a bit of text on the outside of this, so we can do that by going to File and Append. So if I go to File and Append, and if I just go up through the menu system until I get to the Groups folder, I'm going to use the Harrington fonts, and what shall I put on? I'll put on a letter G. And so if I just go to the Object folder, I want Harrington font G, and I want to append that from the library. And if I just make sure that I select the G, now as you can see, the orientation's not quite right at the moment. So what I want to do is I want to rotate it about the x-axis. The red arrow is the x-axis. So if I press R on the keyboard and X to limit my rotation to the x-axis, and type 90 for 90 degrees, you'll see that pulls the G up. And then I can just pull it out there. I'll reposition it. Now if I just open up the Properties panel, if I'm going to put it on one of these faces here. So I've got the Z-axis up here. So if I change the rotation on the Z-axis, now this is a hexagon. So with a hexagon, you've got 6 sides. Now with a circle you've got 360 degrees, so 6 times 60 is 360 degrees. But in terms of positioning this, I don't want the 60 degrees, I want a 30. So that's why it's minus 30 degrees here. So if you actually want to do the calculation, you can do, but you can just play around with this until you get it into the right sort of position. So I can position it there like that. That's just approximate for the moment. Now if I just go to View and Front View, I obviously need to scale this down. So with the G highlighted, if I press the S key on the keyboard and move the cursor inwards, that will scale it. Now this object is a curve, so you must always do Control A and apply the scale when you do that, so you can see that it adds the thickness back to the object again. Now if I just go to View and Top View, if I switch off the snap, and if I press the G key on the keyboard, G, to grab the object, I can move it around. Well, if I just line it up with that surface there, you can see my minus 30 degrees for the Z has got it positioned nicely. And I can just move it in. I like to sort of move it in until the yellow dot there is in line with this edge face. So what that's giving me is about 1 millimeter of thickness outside of the object there. Okay, so you can see that. So the G's in the right place. So now I want to put an astrological sign on the other side. I forgot what I was going to use, but let's just go and have a look. So we're going to go to the astrological patterns, and you can always have a look at them in Fluid Designer before you go to File and Append. Say I forgot which one I said I was going to append. Oh yeah, I think this is Capricorn. Yeah, we'll append this one here, the Capricorn one, and I'll append the one with the box around the outside. So I want 001A, not 001 without the box around the outside. So I'm going to append this object. So it's Patterns Astrological. So I go to File and Append. Just go up through the menu system until you get to the Groups folder and the patterns that are listed. And I want the astrological pattern, and I've forgotten what I was going to use. Capricorn pattern, object, zodiac Capricorn pattern, and append that from the library. I'm not sure I've chosen the right one there, but that's the one I'm going to use anyway. So like we did with the last one, with the letter G, we need to highlight this and rotate it about the x-axis first of all. Rotate it 90 degrees. Now you've got to be careful with these patterns. Looking at it from the front, which is what we've got when we just rotate it 90 degrees, the pattern starts off there. Now if we decide we're going to put the pattern on the back face over here, this face, we obviously need to rotate it again, so rotate it 30 degrees there, or minus 30 as it is. But notice that the pattern, that's the front of the pattern, but when we look at it from the other side it's going to be the other way around. So what we do need to do is we need to rotate it about the z-axis another 180. So in addition to minus 30 we want another 180. So if we type in minus 210, that will flip the pattern around. So we've got the pattern. This is actually the front face of the pattern, and that's important when you're playing around like this. So if I just go to View and Back View, you can see there's the object like that. I want to go to View and Top actually, oh yeah, I need to scale this object before I move it in, really, don't I? So let's position it there. So let's press S on the keyboard for scale, and we'll scale that down to an appropriate size. Try and make it the same size as the G. And again, this is a curve, so do Control A and apply the scale. So you can see that's about the same size as the one at the other side. And now if we go to View and Top View, if we just press G on the keyboard to grab it, and what we want to do is to kind of center it there so it's the same distance away from the edge of the object on both sides, and then I'll just move it in until it's about a millimeter into the object. So yeah, there we are. Now I could possibly, if I wanted, to scale that down a little bit more. Yeah, but you know, it's your choice really. It's your charm. It's how you want it to look. Let me just go to View and Top again, and let me just double check the positioning of this. I'll just switch to wireframe mode, and if I just zoom in there, yeah, you can see I'm not quite 1 millimeter in. I can just about make out the edge here of the charm itself. So I'm just going to press G again and just move it a little bit further in. So what I've done is I've got the center of this object in line with the edge of the charm itself by going into wireframe mode there. Now I've probably gone a little bit too far. As you can see, I've gone on the inside of the object there, so I really want to go back a little bit. So let's just go View and Top again and grab, just pulling it out a little bit. That's better. I don't want it coming on the inside. Okay, what we want to do now is to those are the only two patterns I'm going to put on for this video. You can of course put patterns elsewhere. What I want to do now is I want to save this, so never go to File and Save, because that will write on top of the original template file. You always need to go to File and Save As, and I'm going to save it on the desktop. So it's a charm, and it's gosh, I've forgotten already. Again, forgotten what I've actually put on it. I've got a letter G, and I've got a Capricorn pattern. So that's what I want to save it as. So if we go to File and Save As, so it's a hexagonal charm with a G and a Capricorn pattern. So we save that. I want to save that to the desktop. So it's a letter G and a Capricorn pattern. So we save that as a Blender file. Now we need to join these objects together. So we need to change the curves into meshes before we join them together. So if we go to Tools, Object, Tools and Convert to a Mesh, that will change the Capricorn pattern. And if I highlight the G and go to Tools, Object, Tools and convert it to a mesh, I can then hold down the Shift key, and with the G and the Capricorn pattern highlighted, I can just go to Tools and go to Tools, Object, Tools and join them together. And if I hold down the Shift key and highlight the charm itself, I can go to Tools, Object, Tools and join them together. Now I wouldn't go to File and Save at this stage, because you will delete your file where the Capricorn and the G are curves. I would always leave them as that, just in case you need to come back and make some changes. Much easier keeping them as curves. Now if you want, you could go into edit mode here, and we could make some holes in the side of this charm if we wanted to. So if I hit the right mouse button on the keyboard and change to face select mode, I could highlight a number of faces here. So I'll just highlight 4 faces. If I press X on the keyboard and delete those faces, there will be 4 more faces behind that. So I need to select 1, 2, 3, 4 again. Hopefully I've got the right 4. And X on the keyboard and delete those faces. So that's created a hole in my charm. So I could do that if I wanted. But now what I need to do is to fill in the sides of this, and I can do that by clicking the right mouse button. If I do edge select, and if I hold down the Alt key and the Shift key and highlight that edge and that edge, so I'm highlighting the inner edge and the outer edge of this hole, and then if I do Control E on the keyboard, Control E brings up the edges menu. I can bridge the edge loops, bridge edge loops. That will fill in around the hole. That's really important to do, otherwise you won't be able to get this object to 3D print. Okay, so you could, if you want, customize your charm by putting holes in it. You could create a pattern of holes. You could put holes in this face, whatever you want really. And obviously when you do that, you do reduce the volume of material in the object, which will in fact make it cheaper to print. Okay, so I'm going to leave it like that with just that one hole in. And what we now need to do is to export this, and I'm going to export it as an STL file. I'll export it to the desktop. So it's a charm, it's a hexagonal charm with a letter G and a Capricorn pattern. So we save that to the desktop, and the only thing then to do is to go to NetFab and just run the repair procedure in NetFab. So I go to NetFab Basic, Project and Open, go to the desktop and open the charm. Now there may be some issues, there may not, it just depends. Yeah, we've got a warning red triangle, but I'm fairly confident that NetFab will fix this without any problem. So if I just run the repair procedure, and yeah, there's some border edges and some hole problems, so just run the automatic repair and execute it. And if we just click update, you can see we've got no more issues. We've got all zeros there, so we apply the repair and remove the second part. So there's our repaired charm, and all we need to do is export, go to part and export it as an STL file, and I just write on top of the original, and that will save it to disk. So there's your personalised charm. In this instance I've put a letter G and a Capricorn astrological sign on, but you can add any pattern to this charm you want, and you can, if you want, you can create as many holes in the charm as you want. So good luck. Thanks a lot.